Good morning and welcome to Deep Dives with New Perspectives. Hello, Merrylin. How are you today?
I'm pretty good, Michael, and you?
I'm doing well, thanks. Got some exciting things going on this week, don't we?
We certainly do, especially today, right? This morning at
Has
our time. I think it's this morning our time.
already happened?
Already happened. Did it all? I meant to have this a little bit closer. Oh, wait a minute. Today's the 30th, is it not?
Today's the 30th. I think we have
No,
one
we're talking about tomorrow morning.
tomorrow morning. Exactly. Yeah. I was going to say, is
Tomorrow
it
morning.
happening that early?
Well, the problem with astrologers, at least with this astrologer, is I'm I'm always in different time periods. I'm skipping from one to another. And so where we are in this moment in reality is not always clear to me.
Through that. And also, I mean, especially when we're talking about this one in particular, I mean, it makes sense at first we'd be in a little bit of confusion about it, but also with the larger outer planets, they move so slowly that a day is, it's a day isn't going to really make much difference.
Really, yeah, because Neptune moves very slowly anyway. And it's only going to probably move seconds from this time till tomorrow morning when it appears from our perspective here on Earth to go direct. But one of the things we know about planets stationary, when they're at that point where they're no longer seemingly going in one direction and seemingly changing and going in another direction that is what we call normal for them, a certain movement around the sun that seems to be progressive. Um, their energies are usually very pronounced. So we have, and I displayed an example of Neptune in my, oh, wait a minute, it's happening tomorrow, not today, but it seems like today.
Because all time, I mean, Neptune and Pisces, I mean, Neptune slash Poseidon is in his land of the deep sea of Pisces. So, it's like, when you get down far enough underneath the waves, down deep, you don't feel the waves anymore. It's stillness, right? So in that stillness, how do you discern things sometimes? Sometimes things, it's dark down there. Things come at you, but are they coming at you, or is it just simply, just little glints of sand, in the water?
Yeah, well, yeah, time and space seem to have evaporated.
Exactly.
They don't exist. And I must say that I have been feeling this energy for the past couple days. It's been a very not chaotic, but hard to be, oh, wait a minute. What, where am I right now? What am I doing? Why am I thinking about this other thing? Why can't I remember the thing that I just, it's, I'm in the haze of Neptune. I'm in the haze of Neptune.
That's true. Like I was actually this morning, I was thinking about something. I thought, wow, why after all these years am I thinking of that? So it's like, yeah, I mean, it's like, I don't know, when I think about planet stationing, I really think about the old fashioned, record player where, it's going along in its normal function, but then it just skips and it goes back into that same thing and it just stays in that same, and just like it deepens and it deepens and it deepens. And it's like, it's almost like, especially with Neptune, it's like there's a mantra, there's a hum to it. There's a certain sort of a frequency that's just like, that kind of incapacitates us, puts us into, because the point is to kind of alter us to maybe realize that, that things really will be okay. I mean, that's kind of like what Neptune is, I think at its deepest, is wanting to say. It's like, and also that things may not always be what they appear.
That's true. That is true. There's this kind of shapeshifter energy about Neptune. Yes, I was looking at my other computer that I have Soulfire on,
Yeah.
and just to see, what degree and what's the symbol, and this is a little girl with a white lamb, a child with a light white lamb, and a Chinese servant, sort of this kind of innocence that's protective kind of energy. And this is, I'm glad I looked at that, because there have been so many things that I've been doing this week where I'm just like spacing out and going, oh my God. And yeah, so it's what's up, what comforts me at the moment seeing that symbol is it's okay. It's okay. All will be okay. It's sort of like what you say to a child when they um you know did something, broke something, squeezed the lamb too hard and it bleeded or whatever. Not, whatever. I don't know what you call the sound of a lamb.
Bleeding. Yeah, that's right. That's right.
Bleeding.
That's good. Yeah. At first I say
Didn't mean,
bleeding,
I
like
didn't mean blood coming
not
out.
exsanguinating. Yeah. Withdrawing the blood, red blood cells. Yeah, it's very, and then we have the second half of the eclipse, right? We have the solar eclipse happening a degree off from my ascendant, actually.
On the United States Declaration of Independence chart, ascendant. So it's the energy precedes and follows. And so, what's going on in the United States is, another variant of COVID. Of course, that's going on all over the world.
Right.
But Sagittarius in some ways has a lot to do with that expansive spreading energy. It's contagious. Whether it's a contagious in a good way or not so good way is not so much the question, but there's this kind of, oh no, not more restrictions, not more.
Well, I was watching the news last night, and it was very interesting because they started talking about, where they're seeing, like, oh, well, in Canada has 2 cases, but on the map, they have Canada completely covered. Like those 2 people have infected the whole country, and so it's like, but America is completely clear. And it's like, really? I mean, that's very Sagittarian, right?
What news were you don't have to say, but
Channel 7, ABC,
Oh,
the world news tonight. But it was just like, they were showing like, it's interesting. But I remember learning in statistics, because I was a psych major in college, and I failed the class, I have to say, the first time, so I had to take it again. Because statistics are all based upon how you present the information, right? It's like, so there are 2 people in Canada, but the thing is, if there are 2 cases in that country, then you want to highlight the fact that it's that country that has it. But the chances of you as an individual within that size of a country with that many people and everything, of you being near one of those 2 people, is probably really highly unlikely.
okay. Well, this is interesting because the more information we get as Sagittarians, the more we begin to see. And what I'm thinking is, yeah, I think what I heard yesterday was there were no known, or maybe it was Sunday, no known cases in the United States.
No reported.
No reported. No reported. And hence the map was nothing covered.
Exactly. But it's like, I mean, in our country, when you think there are how many people are in the United States compared to how many people are in Canada, they just let, and then they're stopping the borders, but they're leaving the borders open to Americans. That's very Sagittarian, right? Our people are safe.
Yeah.
Our people aren't going to communicate this. And it's like, wait a minute, why those people should be quarantined right at the border like anyone else is, regardless of whether they're a citizen or not, and ensure that they're not bringing the darn thing into the country.
Well, what this reminds me of in terms of Sagittarius too is that, the ruler being Jupiter, and all the shape shifting that Jupiter did to have his way.
Literally.
Yes. Yes, and that's what we see going on as far as, okay, well, we'll just present this picture instead of that picture.
And yet here we have also a president who is getting his agenda taken care of, is addressing the needs of the people, and is receiving some of the worst approval ratings of a first-term president. And
I don't get that. I really don't get that. What, how is this happening? What's wrong with this picture? And is it our reporters? Are they, and I'm not going to point the finger so much at them, or is it the people that own them, because the corporations that they work for
are dictating.
are dictating, perhaps.
It's
That's
dictating the truth. That's an aspect of Sagittarius too, right?
Right. And that's the only way I can understand this, because well, I listen to a few alternative radio or podcasts, and you don't hear that story. So you really, if there was never a time, if you really want to know what's really going on, you have to look at various sources and realize, how, are they independent voices? Number one, that's the most important. Or who are they owned by?
Right.
And, you can't blame them for wanting to keep their job, but as a profession, they probably, some of them hopefully can't sleep at night. I don't wish that on them, but that's how I feel about it. Yeah. So anyway, with with Neptune doing this, and it's funny because Jupiter and Neptune are very close. I mean, they're siblings in mythology, but Jupiter, was said to rule Pisces, which is now considered Neptune's sign, but they have great similarities in terms of this kind of expansive energy, as well as that way of covering up certain elements that they don't want to be seen, and highlighting the elements that they do want looked at. And so with Jupiter, Jupiter's in Aquarius right now. It's not in Sagittarius, but that's the relationship of Aquarius to Sagittarius is usually very enabling. They're both freedom loving. They both have a sense of larger groups, of trying to influence or be involved with entities that are, social entities. They're considered collective signs in astrology. They both deal with the collective. And so there is this kind of back and forth, but I think the blessing of having Jupiter right now in Aquarius as versus Sagittarius or Pisces, and it will be in Pisces soon, but is that we do get a little more truth, a little more of concern for how are the individuals faring in this social conglomeration. So there is that, even though Aquarius is also a collective sign, the collectivity that is sought with Aquarius is one that really enhances the individual, and that is all individuals, not just the individual who has the most money, for example. Yeah.
And it's funny because like what I see too is like, I think between what's interesting with what's happening this week, particularly between what's going on in Neptune going direct tomorrow and the solar eclipse on Saturday, is they both share Jupiter. Both Sagittarius and Neptune share the sign of our rulers co-rule. So I mean, I think it'll be interesting to see like what truth gets unburied, what truth gets revealed, right? It's, you know, on the grand scale.
Yeah, this is well, we've had a preview because the lunar eclipse that we had in Taurus week and a half ago is really, coming before the solar eclipse. Sometimes the lunar eclipses come after in the same cycle, but they're sort of previewing what's coming up. And this particular one has a lot to do with the past. The symbol is the solar eclipse. A widow's past brought to light is the Sabian symbol for it. And there's there's an implication of marriage there, that there was a connection, but what we know about the connection wasn't everything that we thought. And so if we're thinking about this in terms of how the United States appears, because the ascendant is how we show ourselves to the world, our connections with foreign powers, and there's more and more that's always been revealed on that level. I know I listened to Democracy Now! This morning, and there was information about Honduras, and I can remember reading things quite a while ago that made me look at wars that the United States have been in. And part of it is the wars that we've seen in Central America often have that where the United States has gotten involved, either with money or support or whatever, often has been at the bequest of money. Some wealthy entrepreneur.
So maybe what, in that sense, is like maybe what gets revealed is some of the bed mates, some of the secret, those, because that's the interesting thing. And this is where you and I kind of have a slightly different, but I think, it's like, to me, it's those deeper commitments that Scorpio happen, that makes, beyond Libra. And so it's like, but it doesn't want it revealed. Part of it is like, the secret alliances, that, the lovers, so to speak.
Well, yes, but especially in this case, those that involve money.
Well, resources, right? I mean, the only reason why the US is going to get involved with it is because there's some sort of resource that they believe that they can get from the deal. The way that our chart, especially if you look at the Sibley chart, it's very much about, taking advantage of the resources of others. And I think, isn't it Neptune's in, I forget where it is, but to me, I always remember looking at the chart and saying, it's like, it showed me that it was like we were really big on taking the resources from around the world and pretending we weren't doing it.
Neptune's in the 9th house in Virgo.
Oh, okay. That's what it is.
Yeah, well, still, what serves the advancement of this country and what we stand for,
and the righteousness.
What kind of spin can we put on it? and we've been pretty good with the spin story, and I'm not saying that was okay. I'm just saying that it's been effective. I mean, just mentioning it reminds me often, and I hear pundits say this too, how the Republican Party is extremely good at promoting themselves and spinning something to their advantage. And the Democrats really need to hire some experts in this
well, area. The Republicans aren't afraid to lie. They aren't afraid to bald-faced lie.
Yeah, but you don't have to lie to make people be kind of alert to and connect and wanting to be connected to whatever you're spinning. I mean, it might be padded a bit. I mean, there's all kinds of lies. I mean, the spectrum is quite wide, and using the word spin isn't, you could imply that there's a lot of falsehood in it, but I don't think that's necessarily the spin is just what you're emphasizing. And I believe that that can be done in positive ways. You know, what you leave out, what you include, what you talk about, what, you know, just like, for example, and it amazes me, and I'm repeating in a way some things I've heard from some of the news sources that I listen to, where this whole the legislation that's been passed, Americans who don't listen to news in depth, which you don't usually get on the major networks, know very little about it. I mean, there was one pundit, I don't remember who it was, who commented that, you know, they didn't get out on the road and sell that package even before it was passed, thank God. But had they done that, we might have gotten more out of it than what we got. And, you know, so that has to do with that. There's a little bit of spin in that, you know, the flair that you put on and the importance that you put on something are all part of that. So yeah, there I am.
It's very true. I think it's gonna be very interesting to see on things like, you know, what will be the spin on things? What will be this new focus? Because these eclipse series happen like in groups of series, right?
Oh yeah, well, every series is repeated. I've talked about this on Moonwise this coming week is on this particular solar eclipse. It's already recorded and then ready to go.
Yeah.
And
Do you want to give any teasers, or you just want to point people where they need to go to hear it?
well, ksfr.org, Saturday at 10:30 Mountain Time. After 11 a.m. Mountain Time Saturday, will be available on my podcasts, which are moonwise.libsyn.com. You can go to moonwiseastrology.com and there's a link to those podcasts. But I think it was it wasn't this past week, but recently I did a show just on eclipses and their series, Saros series, Saros. And every 18 years plus a few days, a series repeats itself. And consequently, you know, you could go back 18 years and we're like in the 2021. So 18 years ago was 1993.
2003.
You go back. Oh yeah, 2003. I'm sorry. You know, I can't imagine. It's sort of amazing that we're in the 20s already. Okay, so from 2003, you go back to 85, I believe, or 86, if I'm doing the math right. And you just keep going back 18 years, and those are years we've had that same series, and that a similar kind of energy. And the energy of the initial one, which I don't recall offhand, I wasn't thinking about looking that up. And I do talk about that. You know, there's some element of it in all of the eclipses in a series. But yeah, so that even though this series might not be one that's related to one's prenatal eclipse, which I believe is and a lot of astrologers believe this is the most influential in our lives. There is a certain theme that you'll start to pick up if you look back during those years that have to do with the area in which these eclipses have taken place in your chart. I mean, this one is, you know, this is the South Node eclipse. This one in the area of Sagittarius. So where you have Sagittarius in your chart, like your Sagittarius rising, it might be in your 12th house. It might be in your first house, but they've moved. So, you know, it could have been in the preceding sign. because when the series move, they move actually in counterclockwise motion, just like the planets do, whereas the nodes move nodes move clockwise. So, you know, gets a little complicated just in terms of the astronomy of it. There's a great website that NASA has at nasa.com. Just search for eclipses. There is I guess he's a scientist who has put up a great site, and I've gone there over the years many times, because you can find all the series and, you know, all the sorrow series and when they've occurred and what kind of eclipses they were and where they occurred. Even like, for example, this one here coming up is occurring over Antarctica and parts of the ocean surrounding Antarctica. Includes part of the southernmost part of Australia, Melbourne, but it's not visible here obviously in the United States. Yeah. So there's a little bit of astronomy kind of scattered.
Sounds good. All righty. Anything else we want to add to that?
Oh, well, you know, eclipses bring up issues. We've mentioned that a little bit, but issues not just for a country, but also, you know, on a personal level. So where 13 degrees of Sagittarius is in one's chart is usually the area that one might find some issues around. Like, it's in my third house, okay? And what I find is if I don't write something down, it's like it's in and out of my head and I can't grab it right away.
Or maybe one of your siblings will contact you.
Well, that would be a surprise.
Right?
That would be, well, you know what I'm thinking? We said 2003, right? I'm having to do some of the math. No, it was 3 years later that one of my siblings did contact me.
Well, maybe 3 years from now then.
Yeah. Wow.
Good. Perfect. Well, how can people find you? Well, you just said that just a little bit ago. So.
I did, moonwiseastrology.com. And you know what's funny is I've lost my image picture here.
Oh.
This is weird. I'm not quite sure what happened. I think Zoom wants to teach us a lesson at the moment.
Oh, okay.
Because I see Zoom phone is expanding your reach. Oh, you mean you can use a phone and
yeah,
do
you can
Zoom.
call and do, yeah.
Your
just for audio though. It's not usually for video, but I guess you can do video too. Well, no, then you would just be connecting like that.
Well, like FaceTime, yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Well, if you are liking what we're sharing here, please hit like, please hit subscribe, please share with your friends, leave your comments. We love comments, ask questions. We're happy to interact and talk to you. I can be reached, or you can check out my website at coremichael.com. That's COREMICHAEL.com. Have a great week and see what comes to the surface this week. Many blessings to you all out there.
All right. Bye for now, Michael.
Bye. Take care, Merrylin.